I'd like you now to go to your technique book. I feel like I skipped something important at the beginning that I need to catch up on. Playing piano is not just about playing all the right notes with all the right rhythms, but it's how you play the notes in those rhythms that gives you the sound that's going to make it come across the way the composer wanted it to be. Or if we're thinking in time periods, that each time period had certain characteristics that made it sound like, say, it was from the classical time period or the romantic time period. So my job is to try to teach you how to play those notes in a way that's going to express the song, either how the composer wanted it to sound, or it sounds like it's really coming from that particular time period. And one of the really important things we need if we're going to play classical music correctly is learning how to do two-note slurs properly. So I'd like you to turn, first of all, to the very beginning of the book, where it has the Level 3A Technique Secrets. It's on page 2. And I wanted to look at the first secret, the round off. They call it a round off. These are called, if you see them in music, I will refer to them as a two-note slur, because as you can see, there are two notes and they're slurred. The way we make a two-note slur happen has to have the sound where the second note is softer than the first note. So what we do is we'll drop our hand in, so our wrist is up, we drop in on that first note, and then we lift out with our wrist like this. I'm going to show you on the keyboard, so don't get dizzy while I move. So if I'm playing a two-note slur, let's go over because I think you'll see it better. So I'm going to drop in, and then I come out on the second one with my wrist kind of moving toward the fallboard of the piano. Or for you, it's like moving toward your strings hanging, you know, going out on your Steinway. So you drop in and then you lift out. Now, one of the easiest things to do, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear the sound difference over the video, but oftentimes when kids are doing two-note slurs, it happens like this. Did you notice the sound? I got kind of a crispy sound, and I didn't get the second note softer. And what happened, and what happens normally, I'll have to confess that this happened when I first learned how to do two-note slurs, is you end up feeling like you're pushing out of the keys instead of lifting out. Kind of like if you were going to push off of a diving board. That's what happens oftentimes when people are learning how to do two-note slurs. They feel like they have to push out of those keys. But the key to a good two-note slur is having it, the second one you're lifting out of, and that gets, when your wrist is like this, coming out of the note, it can't really get loud like if you're down here, you're going two notes, and then you're pushing out. That's going to give you too much sound. But if it's going to sound characteristically classical, like some of the things that we're going to start doing, some of the early dances of late Baroque, like Bach, and then into Mozart and that kind of thing, we have to be able to facilitate that two-note slur. So on the exercise, I like they use the word sighing, because normally when you sigh, it's not something that's terribly heavy. Like that. So I'm not feeling, hopefully I'm not going to feel like I got to push out of those keys like I'm jumping off of a diving board. Again, that's not what you want. We want to be able to take and lift out of the keys to have this beautiful gracefulness to it. And you usually do a really good job at controlling that and getting really good sound. So I'm guessing that you're not going to have trouble with the gracefulness of a two-note slur, but you are going to have to listen. Two-note slurs are so much about listening, because you have to make sure you're hearing yourself lift out of there, and you have a softer sound on that second note. If you hear yourself pushing out and sounding crispy like mine were, then you're using too much weight to push yourself out of the key. Now normally I would, if we were together, I would be helping you like this, but I think that if you look at the instructions where it says you're going to roll your hand forward toward the piano at the end of the slur. So on the sighing exercise, you're going to drop in on the fifth, and then you're going to use your forefinger to, and then you're going to have a fourth, and that's how you do the sighing. Again, let me let you see my hand while I'm playing. I'm just doing the right hand one right now, but I think it would be a good place for you to start. So I'm sighing, I'm going to drop into the keys, drop, and then I'm just lifting out. Did you hear how soft it was? they want you to repeat. And notice the arrow that goes across the top of the page there. You'll oftentimes see this in your music when we're first learning how, or sometimes I will write that in there too. So that gives you the idea of you've dropped in here and then you're just lifting out. Oops, there we go. So let me try with the pencil so I can see what I'm doing. So you're going to drop in at this point on that first note, and then this arrow means that you're going to lift out gently with your wrist. Then what I'd like you to do is just go over to the next page, and you can work on that in a song called the double round-offs. So again, you'll be doing the 4 rest. 1, I should probably count carefully. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You've got a chance to go to all of your inner fingers. Now I know you're saying, oh, there's 3 notes in there. Yeah, but the concept is going to be the same on how you lift out at the end of the slur. And this technique will help us also as we lift out at the end of the slur when we're shaping our phrases, like we've worked on some with our scales. Notice at the bottom of this page that they ask you to transpose these exercises. So once you feel comfortable doing it in C major, you could pick one of the other major keys and then maybe another minor key. You don't have to feel like you have to do all of these at one time. I want you to master the C major first, and then depending on how the technique is going with your wrists, to be able to move on to doing some transposing. On this one I would go ahead and start it hand separately because I want you getting the technique in the left hand as well. So just to make sure, because these are not hard as far as the notes go. It's one thing I like about these technique exercises is the notes themselves are not hard to learn because what we're doing is trying to teach our body to do something different. Now, it won't be too many days from the time you see the video to the time you see me. So if you are frustrated with this at all and it's just not happening the way you know, like I've explained on here, don't worry about it. We'll talk about, tell me when you come to your lesson and we'll try to start with this first, just to try to get your body working on doing the right mechanisms to make the 2-note slur happen. But work on the sighing on the technique secrets and then the double round offs on page 4.